All right. Well, thank you all for your patience. Appreciate you being flexible and letting us start a little bit after 5 o'clock today. My name is Christy Rauter, and I work for the Wood County Health Department. And we're excited today to have a candidate forum with Mr. Dana Duncan to talk about some really serious health issues here in Wood County. Issues around alcohol, tobacco, obesity, and oral health. Next, this is a little bit different style of a forum. Our other candidates notified us that they were not able to attend, and so it's going to be a little less formal, hence why there's a group of us up here who are not candidates. But we are going to do a question and answer style, and then we will open it up to the residents of Wood County for comments after each section of questions is asked. And I'm actually going to start off right now with having the folks up here go ahead and introduce themselves.
Thank you. My name is Dot Coleman, and I am the coordinator for the Central Wisconsin Tobacco Free Coalition. And we have an educational booth there. If you have any questions about that afterwards, let me know.
I'm Danita Carlson with the Wood County Health Department.
I am Dana Duncan. I'm the candidate for the 72nd Assembly District. Good evening, and thank you very much for allowing me an opportunity to be here. I'm here so that we can talk about very important issues that are facing Wood County and the surrounding areas and the entire 72nd Assembly District, and I'm looking forward to taking not only the questions that we have here, but any other comments or questions from the crowd.
My name is Tai Vu, the Executive Director of the Wisconsin United Coalition of Mutual Assistance Association. The acronym we use is WUCMA. It's an umbrella agency for 12 nonprofit agencies across Wisconsin here. And then the agency also administers the Asian American Tobacco Prevention and Control Network in Wisconsin. I also like to introduce two people that I think is very key to the community here, and it's one of the Lao veterans representative in one of the local chapter here in Wisconsin Rapid, Mr. Lok Yang. So that's.
So my name is Walker Yang. So I'm the chapter 3 in Wisconsin Rapid.
Thank you. And another person is similarly the mountain in Wisconsin. It's about 60,000, and then we have a organization that trying to also pull everyone together to maintain cultural and some of the cultural practices. So we also have an election and have a leader. So one of the three candidates also live here and also here tonight. And Mr. Su can you? So he's one of the candidates for the Mount 18 Council, which is also taking many of the social health and political issues that are affecting the Hmong. So we are glad that he is part of Wisconsin Rapid, and it will continue to play a major role in helping the Hmong community here and then the community at large. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for the introductions. Again, we will do the formal overview of each of the health priority areas, followed by questions, and then followed by an open comment or question period from you folks in the audience. So we'll be starting tonight with alcohol.
When it comes to drinking, it seems no state keeps pace with Wisconsin. Wisconsin, long famous for its breweries, leads the nation in drunk driving, binge drinking, and the most bars per capita, all of which continue to create a huge economic toll on the state. In 2005, underage drinking cost the citizens of Wisconsin $1.2 billion. In 2008, costs for alcohol-related hospitalizations in Wisconsin were more than $1 billion. Wisconsin's alcohol culture encourages excessive, risky drinking, which has created negative impacts throughout the state for years. Yet there continues to be lack of change in legislation and policy to make significant impacts on Wisconsin's destructive alcohol culture.
First question. Wisconsin and 3 other states allow underage drinking in a licensed establishment if the alcohol is purchased by a parent, guardian, or spouse over the age of 21. What do you think the state legislature can do to reduce underage drinking in Wisconsin?
Well, thank you again for the invitation and the opportunity to speak on these issues. One of the problems that we have with the underage drinking is that there's a certain element of excitement because of the taboo nature, because it's illegal. Actually, I think the fact that parents, guardians, and spouses are able to purchase in a controlled setting helps reduce underage drinking for the most part, because it reduces that taboo, that excitement about alcohol consumption. But the most important thing that we have to understand is that the key factor here is the whole idea of binge drinking. And that is really what the state legislature can do. There's all kinds of different options available. There's Wood County, for instance, has a diversion program for alcohol related offenses that is designed to allow children and young adults to have education, to understand the ramifications of alcohol, and that it's not necessarily a bad thing if used properly and in moderation, but that they need to understand those points. Unfortunately, what seems to happen too often is that certain elements in Madison don't feel programs such as those deserve funding. And so each of the last 4 years, funding for such programs has been cut. So again, that's a consideration that needs to be done. Now, I've looked at some of these issues. I guess you could say that I'm a little boring because I actually look at this stuff on my own. There was a proposal by the college presidents a few years ago to actually create a system where there's kids or underage kids between 18 and 21 go to class and learn about alcohol, learn the ramifications of it, and they actually can be granted a license to consume alcohol. And then with that, then they are allowed to go into certain establishments, purchase, but if they get caught violating, purchasing for somebody illegally, doing something that's related to alcohol consumption, such as crimes or ordinances, they lose that privilege. And they believe, or the college professors believe, that that was going to help solve binge drinking, at least on college campuses. So I don't know whether that's a good idea. It was intriguing to me. It was something that I think we should look at because we need to address this into the long term. And I think that's a key factor, is to look at ideas like this and to not come in with a rigid idea of, we know everything and that we know what's best. A lot of times, some of these ideas come from local communities and from county health departments and such. One size does not fit all, and Madison shouldn't always have to dictate everything.
All right, the second question is, to date, 38 states have sobriety checkpoints and have seen significant decreases in drunk driving. In your opinion, what are some steps that the state legislature can take to reduce drunk driving in Wisconsin?
I believe Wisconsin is the only state to have a first offense civil forfeiture for drunk driving. That should probably be changed and made a crime, simply because the first offense, will probably, if it is a crime, help reduce people, consciously thinking about driving after consuming alcohol. Now, there are a few points here that I've thought about. We have a rideshare program on New Year's Eve for people, but the rest of the year, people who are drinking a lot of times have no opportunities to have that kind of service, especially in a smaller city or in a rural area. In a large city like Milwaukee or Madison, you can call a cab, and the cab can help you. in Wisconsin, that's not the case, or in Wisconsin Rapids, it's not the case necessarily. There's sometimes service, sometimes not. So those types of transportation services need to be looked at. Again, we need to deal with possible education and with diversion applications. We need to get people aware of the ramifications of their consumption of alcohol. And quite frankly, we need to address a problem that exists not just in the 72nd, but in the state and the country as a whole. In this, it's a culture of being a victim. It's time that people have to understand that they have to take some personal responsibility for themselves and understand that what they do is not in a vacuum. It affects everyone else around them. If you have too much to drink and you drive a car, it doesn't just affect you. It affects your family, it affects your coworkers, it affects your neighbors, it affects the community at large. And I don't think a lot of people stop to think about the fact that we live in a very fine community, but it's also rather small, and this kind of stuff has impact. I've been president of the Port Edwards Board, and I've had the unfortunate nature of having to deal with multiple car accidents involving teenagers and the consumption of alcohol. And I find it tragic. And the thing that really has always struck me is it's not just the children in the car that are impacted. The entire school is impacted. And so when we're talking about how we can reduce this, I think that's the biggest starting point is we have to start teaching children that what they do has an impact on their community and on their families and on their friends. And that and taking responsibility for their behavior and action. So again, when we find problems, we need to get them into treatment, we need to get them into educational programs. That is the key, and that is something that needs to be properly funded.
All right, we'll now actually take comments from the audience. If anyone has any comments or questions around alcohol.
One more question. Do you know or do you see in the future that we would have fundings for this kind of education for the Hmong community? Or do you know if we have it currently, even in the county here?
I don't know specifically. I would be surprised if there is, I'll guarantee it's probably underfunded. The problem that we've had for the last 4 years is that we have this mentality that we save $1 because it's your money and you shouldn't have to pay taxes. Whereas that dollar may stop costs to us and to society of $10, $15, $20 down the road. If your front porch is unpainted, and regardless of whether it looks bad, you can save the money that you spend to buy a can of paint. And you'll save that money. But if you paint it, that porch is not going to rot. If you don't paint it, you'll probably end up having to replace your entire porch in a few years. And that's what's going on in Wisconsin right now. We just keep passing problems down because no one wants to make tough choices and say that we need to properly fund things like educational programs for Hmong people, for education, for health. It has to stop because it's short-sighted, it's wrong. Did I answer your question?
Brings up another question.
All right, we got time.
The next question is, okay, so you're in office, what are you gonna do about it?
Well,
What are the steps that you're gonna take to make sure that we're getting funded for these kind of programs or services? Is there anything you can do, or is there anyone we can, ask for the support?
a lot of times the problem comes up that there are 99 members of the state legislature or of the assembly. Everyone has a different life experience, everyone has a different idea, comes from a different background. Right now, for instance, there are only, I believe, 7 lawyers in the state assembly. I'm planning on making it 8. But we come in with a different attitude. Many of the people that are in there now probably don't have the same experience with the Hmong families and communities that I have. And so that's my responsibility then as an assemblyman to express and to champion and state a problem and make others aware. And so that's part of my charge. Am I alone going to be able to get the funding? Not unless I win the Powerball tomorrow night. But I will do everything I can, and I will definitely try to make people aware of it, of the problem and what needs to be done.
Thank you.
All right? Sure.
All right, I will open it up to other comments from the audience at this time. We have some great comments, so anybody else? Comments?
What are your thoughts on banning e-cigarettes in public places for health of young people?
I didn't hear the last part.
What are your thoughts on banning e-cigarettes in public places for the health of young people?
The e-cigarettes? Yes, they need to be banned. And I think I did mention that earlier. E-cigarettes need to be placed at the same level as any tobacco product. Cigarettes and all right on. In Port Edwards, the school district, we amended our drug and alcohol policy about 5 months ago to specifically include a ban on e-cigarettes. So that's something that I was involved in. So I think that's necessary and it's the right thing. These e-cigarettes, somehow or another, there's this idea that because there's no smoke, they're healthier. They're not. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. You're just trying to make it, the health risks are still there. You're just repackaging it so that you fool people into believing that it's a safe alternative. And that needs to stop.
All right, go ahead.
主要到了感觉回来了，好，我离了啥的背那个过来了，因为我大家人考过，大家用哎，如果他背出来的时候，就过了一点。好，到那过完那个，不是他这个他就他路线了，是吧？不一样，说下去要没考分嘛，他要他还是他得背，不是搞才路嘛，他很多用。เขาอยากจะถามแล้วจะถามก็คือซึ่งเดียซึ่งเราสาเดียพนังหนึ่งเปิดไปกูเตือนอะไรไปจะนั่งยัดท่องพนังอยู่นั่นนะของสาเดียยอดสอนใจยัดรู้ของเกย์ใช้รู้มาเนี่ยก็ใส่ด้วยชิ้นโต้มาโจทย์ยอดโจทย์ยอดเราพาไปกันน้องเลยเจียดเตะคอเลยตกเพียเลยนะอย่าไปเป๊ะเลยน้องเลยเจียดจะติวกดโจทย์นะเจียดเลยชิ้นละสินะนั่นเราสอนใจเรามีการสอนนะmà cũng sao để có thể chỉ mà biết của họ có sao để nâng cao chuyện họ đi bây giờ họ thả ra bây giờ nó sư là gì người chịu vợ rồi họ để thả ra cho nên cho tí đấy cho con nó là mà cho chúng sát xảy ra cho để cái bên một cổ cái bên này mà thả đến nó đó bây giờ nó chỉ bây giờ nó chỉ bây qua chỉ là thả ra chỉ là giờ nó gì đều sẽ tốt.
My mung's a little rusty.
I'll ask if the interpreter, you wanted to interpret or you?
No.
Okay. I'll try the best I can. The question is that we are very inadequate in giving the communication tonight. It's a good example because we have the Hmong interpreter, but we don't have the audio equipments where everybody can hear. So mostly the people around who can hear more, and the rest that couldn't hear very well, so didn't really get the information across, and that's a concern, which is it's very good, and I appreciate for his candidness because. Without that, we wouldn't know what to do. But again, this is the deficiency we have. Secondly, he said that it seems like we talk about tobacco and we talk about alcohol, but what about some other thing? Is there some other thing that we're going to talk about the two? Because just not alcohol and tobacco, at least. And thirdly, just not the people here, but also the Hmong people who are at home. What message do we need to get to them, or what do we want them to know? Because unless information is getting to the Hmong community, you're not going to be able to help the Hmong a lot. So those are the concern of the gentleman here in summary. So I'll try to do that in Hmong too, and so that if you have any more question. Cú rong xia, thì cái giấy từ cú bên hải rồi thì Charlie Chaplin, một fois thì cái hải cho lu và rồi thì nó nhớ là cú nó là từ và rồi cú từ là chạy tàu cái rồi cái nhà nhà nè, thì chỉ khó cái hải này này phải chính nè, thì nó chỉ nhau bé bao nó yêu chụp bỏ, nó chỉ nhau chỉ mấy cái nhau nó yêu chụp bỏ, thì và bé hải lu là bé từ rồi nó hải chỉ tàu được bé cho nên nhớ là tụt xài lu nó là tụt cho nó ấy cũng mà tụt chọn nó thì chỉ thì chỉ nó từ hải tí ảnh có hải theo họ chỉ họ nói giờ ít họ rong được bây giờ chỉ có từ mất kia đến rồi nửa lâu theo nên và cái cho lù cái thì hải cho họ lùi dân hải cho họ để họ chờ xứ giờ lên lùi già này nên là từ mất kia rồi lợi theo hải cho họ thì có xa xó rồi bé cho nó là có xa rồi cho bé sang tập chế đi theo nên là từ mất hải rồi lợi theo chỉ cũng chơi thì mà nó tụi nó giờ tụi kia ôn nọ nữa thì khi và cho rồi thì nó thiết tục bỏ nhớ rồi nên và họ đối chỉ nó giờ cho nó chữ và tổ từ游戏 rồi这个班呢để cho学的bé họ chỉ có cho luôn rồi có có 3 bé thế có 3 của tụi sai luôn nó thế được 3 thế rồi ở trong cha của nó là chỉ và có cho chỉ là có lười già là họ có khởi nghiệp cái cũ họ tới chỉ là lo luôn rất là nhiều cho lo luôn mà anh để ở cái chỗ này okay.
All right.
Okay.
Well said.
Thank you.
Do you want me to address any of those things, or are we okay to move forward?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The third topic tonight is obesity.
Could I ask,
Oh.
would they prefer that our interpreter stand and,
Well, I mean, she can stand out anyway, but I mean, that's how much her voice can project into the room. So
Oh.
we'll do the best we can.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
All right. We have two topics left. The first one is obesity. Currently, 63% of Wood County residents are either obese or overweight. Obesity puts people at higher risk for other chronic diseases such as diabetes and heart disease, and places a financial burden on us via medical expenses. Creating environments where we live, work, and play that encourage exercise, provide access to good nutrition, and support healthy behaviors are all ways to help fight this epidemic.
I got
Yeah.
Lô bạn đi tạch nó là nhớ là hậu quyết không không có trâu giả 100% cho nên nhớ là không nó của như là của overweight là chỉ như cho nên cho nè cho nên mua hậu cho nhớ là hậu nó như khó thì rất kỹ của cái lúc chị tới như chị thấu thì là chỉ như chị dùng cái con nó mà cho họ tụi nên cho nó những con tấm mạng này vậy thì cho tấm mạng mua cho cây tụi nên cho là chỉ tụi nên mua pháo này vậy thì mua cho tấm mạng xử lý trả cá gì là chỉ mua lẩu đi cái này để họ đợi thì nhớ quấy họ cái và bị chỉ bỏ để xem mà nhớ quấy họ cái và bị mua bị bông nhia một kho tụi nên đợi cho họ nên cho xây sâu là một cái dân lòng bát kho cho nên đợi đi xem này thì họ nói kho và tấm mạng bị mua nhớ là họ quên không họ nói thì lấy xã hiện rất kỹ là một bát này.
Okay, the first question. Good nutrition is essential to good health and disease prevention. However, low-income and rural communities often have limited access to healthy food. What are some steps you think the state legislature could take to create a healthier food environment for all of Wisconsin's citizens?
First, I hope you didn't ask or add this section with me in mind, but one of the problems that we're finding in obesity is that there's a correlation, and it seems that obesity levels rise during periods where there's economic distress. And it's partly because what are the most expensive things when you go to the grocery store? Fresh fruits and vegetables for the amount you can get. It's easy to buy pasta and make your meat go longer. It's easy to add breads and to do all the stuff that's full of starches and sugars and all of this. We're not properly funding food stamps. We're not properly funding WIC. We're not properly funding all of the very basic elements that allow people to have sufficient money to purchase fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, and the things that need to be done. Second, once we address that issue, we need to do a better job of teaching good nutritional habits. Nutrition is actually a cultural thing. And I didn't realize this until recently. I had an exchange son from Germany, and he's out in California right now. And he was just amazed. Here, you want to go with an employee after work, you say, let's go out for a beer. In California, it's, let's go jog. Okay? Completely different mindset. They're very health conscious in California. And so we need to instill that into our children. Now, for the rural communities and such, again, we need to start looking at better ways of setting up cooperatives, allowing farmers to produce more organic fruits and vegetables, allow more individuals to get them into the schools. We had a local grocer program through Port Edwards schools where local farmers produced foods. They were brought in. The kids could actually participate sometimes in the preparation of the vegetables and the fruits. As far as for lunch, these types of things need to be looked at and done more of. So, I guess that is my answer.
Excellent, thank you.
Cái nó hầu giờ như dạng trực tiếp nhớ là hầu của người giữ chỉ có xong rồi tụ cá mò giờ nhớ đi cái chỗ này và họ lười tao nhớ chân nhớ là hầu cái chỗ gọn này đi tới nó và đi họ là mà họ lười nó và đi con này có xã hay thì nhớ có tàu rồi nhớ là đó là có xã tàu mua đó đi rồi cho cái ba từ lòng ba rồi cái sạch cái này đấy nè nói cho nó rất cho không nó hầu đấy như sáng tía nhá để tao nó chỉ là yêu chủ gì cho nhiều món nọ cho sẽ là vì để cho nhiều món nọ mà lấy cho ba tôi nên yêu giả không hoa nọ tức là giả không nọ đấy giả không hoa cho không hoa trong xử lý rau xử lý và chính xác chính đồng nọ lòng một ba cái lúc chỉ sẽ cho sau là cái mua từ cá mò và là sử quay cho và nhiều mua cái cá mò là có trend đấy này thì này cho họ thì mình xả ba cho nhiều nọ cái khu ba còn sẽ là tàu cái nọ ba họ cũng đợi có và tàu cho đấu hóa rong cho nhiều lúc chạy đợi đó là mà thì chỉ ta đi đợi là mình khu xả ba còn mua cho cái kia sẽ là hay cho cái nọ hậu phải có nhiều họ cho tàu nhiều lúc chạy chứ hay thì chúng mua từ cá món đợi này.
All right, the second question is more focused on physical activity, with the first being focused on nutrition. It is, according to the state of Wisconsin's Department of Health Services, nearly half of the population of Wisconsin does not meet the recommendations for physical activity. What are some steps you think the state legislature could take to create opportunities for all Wisconsin citizens to be physically active?
Well, again, I'll go back to the point I made earlier, which is it's really difficult for individuals in this state to feel like they can exercise when so many of them have to work 2 and 3 jobs in order to support their families. There's a reason why countries that have a better economic outlook seem to have better health. In this country, I've seen that decline because we are just all so busy working to put food on the table for our families that we don't have the time sufficient to take care of ourselves. It's short-sighted on our part, but one of the things the state legislature can do is, one, take care of some of these problems so that, I mean, it's going to sound strange. How do you get, a reduction in obesity by raising the minimum wage? Well, if wages in general rise and people don't have to work 2 and 3 jobs, maybe they'll actually have time to go take a walk. And hopefully take it with your kids. But another aspect is the cost associated with a Y or a health club. That should be something that the state should not just give a tax break on. There should be a consideration of making it, actually some sort of grants or some sort of tax credits for doing it. It would be nice if we could do some of this stuff and actually have, a large portion of our population involved in a health club or a YMCA so that they're doing these activities on a daily basis. It'd be nice because I think we would see the costs associated with healthcare decline, the costs associated with insurance and health insurance decline, the costs associated with even life insurance decline. It would have such a positive effect on the state as a whole, not to mention the moral problem because the lack of exercise shortens lives. So, I guess that answers the question the best I can.
cho nên nhớ là họ lúc là Wisconsin họ nó cho cái lúc health department là chỉ lúc department là làm một cái nó phá học của nó nhớ đi lấy cho cái sản xuất là một lo bản lý và đi ra cho nhớ là họ lúc là họ nó mình mua cho cái và nên chỉ exercise cho những lúc vậy này nên chỉ có những lúc vậy còn những số mua cho các món nhớ là họ này thì nó không dùng đâu thì Oli ก็สารเนี่ยก็อยู่ว่ายกก็โตออฟฟิศเนี่ยก็อยู่บริจาคลองป้าไปจนยกรู้หลังเนาะก่อนหนึ่งชิ้นน้ำม้อยก่อนหนึ่งชั่วโมงว่าก่อนหนึ่งรู้ใจสมบูรณ์นั่นมาอย่างเนี่ยยกเขารู้หลังของน้องเนี่ยจริงเนี่ยเดียอีหนึ่งยังสาเดียยังยกลียกลีไปจอเหล่าตัวติ๋วตัวเนี่ยจะเหล่าตัวติ๋วตัวมันเนี่ย幾區咧嘛，就俾咗幾區，一啲仲我俾我好聊先啊，亦俾全部都出去咗落冇都幾個，俾到幾成十個嘅啦，幾之後你兩年一發得咪，但係我兩散幾可話兩個 minimum wage 呢，就要個目標嘅就好聊你可以啊來提高的呢，但是呢一下來就是個3蚊幾個些，個有啲個兩嘢些嚟個來，有啲個直接變咗話就俾就好聊。ก็冇รู้ใช่เราต้องกี่ก็รู้กี่หนึ่งคนลงแล้วก็เนี่ยนะเดี๋ยวเขามาอย่างนี้เขาหนึ่งสามปอนด์เนี่ยจะเขาเดี๋ยวเขาน้องหนึ่งวัวเลยดีอย่างเดี๋ยวก็มั่วใช่เราต้องกี่แล้วก็จีเนี่ยเราต้องกี่ก่อนก็รู้กี่หนึ่งสมบูรณ์แค่หนึ่งช้อนจ้องเนี่ยก็จะจ้องชาหนึ่งเขียวจ้องเทียนอะไรกี่หนึ่งวัวเลยว่าอิสราเอลเนี่ยก็อยู่อิสราเอลวัวม้อเราหนึ่งอย่างพิธีจ้องเนี่ยไลฟ์อิสราเอลมุ่งเราเลยอย่างพิธีจ้องเนี่ยเขาก็จีมั่วจะกี่ว่ายังเขาก็มั่วจะกี่ป้าก็รู้จีเลยนะก็รู้จีจีมั่วม้อเลยเดี๋ยวเขาเนี่ยโอเค
但是嘛，要你哋嘛，比如講，全國就係咁講嘅，邊度就兩個幾巴呀？但是比如講啦，你我只全部幾巴，邊我話邊做得邊上面曬啦又唔漂啦，但是嘛，邊我可能當然最先啦，去做提供嘢啦，你邊啲衫再嚟講你曬嗰時嘛，來件衫同呢種嘢啦，邊條幫你買落前又衣服啦又攞去做。一路年咯，仲有咧落去做嘅，俾啲呀，又俾啲全部呢即係冇一路年俾用錢落嚟呢，呢邊咩嚟做？誒成日嘛，你到俾後邊冇用，咁我又咧，俾我師母啲師母呢又佢用舊用過咧，佢啲錢我就因為俾到舊對象咧到好多聽我嘅有頭考慮思路咧，冇成日落嚟，啲錢冇得俾你啫，啲當然到啦，你都能到啦。嘅俾人耍冇我誒落俾那計時冇落俾都冇知道啦，誒啲都錯誒俾冇同佢對到啦，冇啲都攞嘅，俾人耍冇佢攞俾實對啦，誒俾耍落咁，每一個龍嘅落巴誒個啲在路咧，俾佢鬥條巴人哋俾我耍冇落，誒耍冇鬥咧嗱，冇落啲人哋頭先我咧就俾條頭啦，我又嚟冇嗰次就。啲餸嚟出喐來嘅啲樹嘅，咁你啲冇可能啲普通當nhà rồi nhỉ? Thế bây giờ mình có thể tay, có thể sao mình dùng chỉ đâu chỉ cái mua khỏi dùng để xài nó, để xài vào nó một ta nó còn nó thì bây giờ chờ là mình thay đi xài vô thế, tôi vô thế con này thì biết sử dụng chỉ cái để sao để xài mình cho mình còn dân tộc
The question is because of funding, you know, for these health places where you can go and exercise, like the Y or the fitness gyms. They have a lack of money for that. Do you have any fundings to help them out, as far as you know, so that they can be more affordable for them? Because living in Wisconsin, we have the 2 seasons. During the summer months, they are able to walk outside. You know, do their daily walk, but in the winter time they're limited to staying at home because the weather won't permit them to do these exercises to help control that obesity, and they really want to see if we can get any fundings, or do you know of any fundings that are available right now that they could take advantage of?
I'm not aware of any funding that's available right now. I would like to change that. I assume that January weather is a little different in Wisconsin than Laos. So I understand perfectly well what the problem is, but that's why I'm talking about not just tax deductions, but tax credits, where they actually, cover the cost associated with that, so that, you have that opportunity. Because I understand, I know how much some of those clubs or the memberships cost, and I would like to see that. So,
Cụ tí nữa cho nó được. Ok. Thì tí mà chế thì nó là đặt đó là chỉ tao mua cho cái ba lòng bên này sẽ rồi đó. Ok. Là chỉ tao mua bao nhiêu lòng ba sẽ rồi. Thì họ được xả là chỉ hơn thì tao hổ là chỉ được xả còn nhưng mà lại chỉ mua bao nhiêu ba lòng còn cho trong này mua share này mua tax đó. Này muaจ่าย sau hoặc là off hoặc là này đi sử dụng đó lòng ba thì khăn lại này còn lại quan và credit này còn này trong công nhân đó là sao? Để lưu trữ ý mà nhà linh đó sao? And then here's the next question. Is it okay if she goes back to the alcohol topic?
Oh, and ask the question?
I don't have a
Sure.
problem.
Yeah, sure.
Với họ thực hiện xã thì tao là cô đó thì xã có do đi xã ở bây giờ là không việc cái gì còn đi mua bây giờ bắt cho lại bắt cho điขึ้นชื่อเลยนะ假设某人来某边他搞我的某嘛呢我哋得嚟就某些個啦另外一個就某嘅我當然就係我哋先大啦就入啲大咯啲會有重不咗咯啲錢重對不咗咯你你嘛偏อยู่嗰啲好大啦你嗰個始終嘛你啥佢都得過你哋冇入不咗啦個都冇ก่อนจะซื้อใช้ลูกมงเจตาซื้อมาโอเคไม่ใช่ว่าเดี๋ยวชิ้นแรกของมันจุ่มด้วยเลย
Her main concern, and going back to the alcohol questions, are she notices that everywhere else the legal time that you can purchase alcohol ends at 9 o'clock, except for quick trips. Is there a consistency, within the area where after 9 o'clock you cannot purchase it anymore?
My understanding is that the purchase of alcohol, all hard liquor and wine, stops at 9 o'clock. All right? Beer is allowed to be sold until midnight, unless there is a local ordinance prohibiting it. And I think in some locations, and I don't know about Wisconsin Rapids anymore because I live in Port Edwards, that is not the case. But that's, each state is different too. You can buy liquor and until midnight in a liquor store in Illinois until midnight. You can buy it till 2 a.m. in Illinois if you buy it from a tavern. So it's not just Quick Trip. It's just they seem to be the ones that are open at that time. So, but there is consistency. It's just a matter of sometimes it's more regulated by the local municipality.
Có tế là những tế lo khó là con là những tế thì do nhớ là hổ rõ là gì lớn một đầu tập ác cho mong là để xí mà cho họ cứ chịu nhớ dù rõ lỡ là gì nhớ sáng độ nên chỉ lỡ là gì lớn một chơi cũng không cho bỏ là sự cho cậu không là chơi con lỡ thì nhớ bắt đầu là phải đi từ dùng một hồi đến đã còn là cái gì ở đây gì cứ là tổng hợp cho nhớ là một sự sống một thằng
là cái là có cái gì là chủ sĩ thảo là thế mà
Ở đây là thằng mà,你認談啊，就算啦，就可以一路繞你每年做計空下，你做計攞多拿多就算啦，做好那些你莫計我你做計咁空下，對啦。
你biết không nhiều chế nhiều cái gì chỉ có còn do gì việc của bắt đầu sẽ chỉ có việc đầu.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, the last, we're going to be really mindful of time. We have around 6 minutes left, so we do have one more health issue, which is oral health, and Danita's going to read that.
Thousands of Wisconsin children and adults suffer from untreated dental problems. Studies show poor oral health may be linked to heart disease, stroke, diabetes, preterm labor, and oral cancer. Oral health is critical to overall health, and ensuring residents have proper dental care is important to our state economically and socially. Creating opportunities to remove barriers to dental care will improve oral health and overall health.
Okay, so we're going to ask one question. This question is...
We forgot.
Oh, sorry.
是筛子好像是有一个大，也好到了，你打仗好到了，你打仗好问题啊，我哋個有做個種嘢啊，個種咧，個質地都個種嘢啦，嘅，亦你但是我們因為好多老城市ของเราอะไร做到เดียวแล้ว質地上做了หมดแล้วพอ到เดียวย้อนเราไปดู老城市ของเราอย่างเดียวก็จุ่มว่ามุงจีนกันหมด係真個種嘢啦，你也等啲就是話我哋也老你不過到個摸摸真係個路老摸摸 stroke 摸摸茶巴西。老是你估摸了或 cancer 嘅好多都同照片啦，亦但是咧諗老師嚟摸摸這幾巴嘅話，個水嚟到這幾巴諗過或嗰啲。
Okay. The question is, Wisconsin experiences shortages of access to dental and other oral health services, particularly for people receiving badger care or lacking insurance coverage for oral health services. What are some steps you think the state legislature could take to create opportunities to reduce these shortages and to ensure Wisconsin citizens have access to dental and oral health services?
Well, one of the things when I saw that question, I started looking at it a little bit more, and my initial reaction was a little different than what it was when I started looking into it. And I found that in talking with my friend, the dentist who's in my office building, is he commented that at one time, about 10 years ago, the cost of dental care paid by Medicaid was about 85%. It's now down to around 10 or 15% of the cost. Well, if you're only reimbursing dentists a tenth of what they get for other patients, it makes sense that they're not going to be really excited about taking Medicaid or Badger Care patients. So we create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Instead of helping or reimbursing and making sure these people get in for their semi-annual cleanings, we wait until there's a major problem associated with it. Again, this is the whole thing of save $1, cost $20, $40 down the road. We need to look, though, at all kinds of opportunities and options. We need to look at reductions in costs so that we can improve or increase the amount of dentists if necessary. In thinking about this, there was a show about 15 years ago called Northern Exposure. And in there, the premise is that a small town in northern Alaska paid the medical tuition for a New York doctor to go to medical school in exchange that he had to live in Alaska. What would be the problem of Wisconsin saying that we will reduce or pay your cost of your dental tuition if you have agreed to serve in rural communities and low-income facilities or low-income places in Wisconsin for a certain period of time? And so that you're actually servicing people that need the care. The cost associated with that isn't going to be, extremely high because, we're paying the dental care or the dental tuition type of thing. For the dentist, it's a great opportunity because not only do they gain some experience, they get their education. These are the kinds of things we need to look at if we're going to have any hope of resolving some of these issues. Again, we've been living too often with these misconceptions that everything has to be one size fits all, and it doesn't. We need to look at all the options. Sometimes it's nice too to look local areas make decisions. Let local control have a say in it. Or give it to each county. We have 72 counties in Wisconsin. If we allow each of the 72 counties to experiment as to what works best, maybe we can find 3 or 4 that really are good, and we can adopt them in different regions based on population and such. So, these are the kinds of things we need to look at. I guess that's what I'm willing to help do.
就靠第一呢，你们在我们可能是好全部下来。因为好Wisconsin 可能来做到了冇係啲啊，但是呢你全部做幾班係做有冇嘢都得冇看不過嗰邊咧，就可能啲地都嘛兩期之中嘅budget care 兩期之中都係冇得你去夾債嘅，跟住去夾看呢啊。也看到也看到人家的好，路這就看到我哋樣你有啥你有考慮下。誒講話到這幾班的飛上來的呢，人哋個人嘅課程跟差啲啊，當勞動力啦，人哋有的好會講成咁 budget 佢體驗去做了，是體驗其中的就看冇了，即係去個栽培呢，嘅但是呢，你一路注意你啥到啲你學人哋樣人哋到有的好了，人哋你說好啲，我哋但是呢你。就可能啲博日大陸兩因為阿拉斯加你可以做內蒙過年咧入期咧做內蒙對冇腳咧，一同啲腳啲咧見你有住 contract， 因為俾冇班嚟攞住攞咗俾咧，嘅但是呢你攞住嘅你啥嘅要到嘅你啥嘅一度我都有內蒙你對落門因為好嘅即係做咩啊？而且這幾班嘅上嚟講嘅就係。直到面到了，你qualify你冇提到啲，直到你喺落嚟，你都係冇得你再嘅 budget care 因為就到你將咗落邊嘅俾啲班題你，如果上啲班題你咗你就到了咧，你跟你話隔落冇班嘅上嚟就非常之好，如果上。
All right, well, with that, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and I want to thank Mr. Dana Duncan for being here for the Candidate Forum to address health issues in Wood County, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
Can I just make one brief closing statement?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
All right. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to talk about issues. And it would have been nice if this could have been a real interplay so that the public in attendance and on home watching on PAC television could have seen choices between different ideas on how to address these issues. And with that, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk.
Thank you for coming.